Okay. Dina, if you're good with it, we could probably kick off. Like I said, as more people join, they can mute themselves, and then at the end, we'll answer any questions. And if people want to introduce themselves and their business, we can do that as well. Um, but I think
That sounds good.
we're good to go. Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Well, thank you all for joining our next or our May, one of two actually, Chamber Classroom series. So with us today, we have Dina Fleischman. She's the VP of the Chamber and then also owner of Oil D. Primarily the owner, because that is what we're going to talk about today is Amazon selling 101 and how in depth she knows that platform. So she'll take us through all the details of setting up. So I'll kick it over to you, Dina. And then, of course, if anyone has questions throughout, feel free to add it to the chat. And then either I'm happy to ask them on your behalf, or if at the end you'd like to expand on your question or jump in with more detail, feel free. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end as we wrap up as well. So we're recording this also just so everyone knows so that we can pass it around if you would like the voiceover and the slides for reference at a later point. But that's the gist. Let's kick it off, Dina.
Okay.
Awesome.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So as Danielle mentioned, this is Amazon 101, and it is an introduction to selling on Amazon. My name is Dina Fleischman, and as Danielle mentioned, I do own Oila D. Our company imports gourmet foods from Greece. We started the business in 2014 and mostly focused on selling to grocery stores and supermarkets. We have our own website selling direct to the consumer. And in 2017, we began selling on Amazon. Out of curiosity this morning, I Googled how to sell on Amazon, and I received 1,070,000,000 results, approximately. That's a lot of results. And also, some of it very helpful, but also some of it based on what some of the random sites that I clicked through, some of it is not. So the purpose of this class is to share information that will help you understand what to expect when you become a seller on Amazon. Things I've learned over the past 7 years that will be useful as you move and help you move in the right direction. So we'll talk about setting up your Amazon seller account, optimizing product listings for maximum visibility, pricing strategies and competitive analysis, order fulfillment options, advertising and promotions. Now, if you've done any research already or had conversations with anyone about selling on Amazon, you may have come across these two terms. There's Vendor Central and Seller Central. These are two very fundamentally different platforms used by merchants to sell on Amazon. With Vendor Central, your customer is Amazon. They behave like a distributor. So you sell your product to them. They take what they call a slotting fee based on what they feel they can do with your product, how quickly they can sell it, and what avenues they can take with it. And then you're kind of hands off after that. They take it from there. The issue with Vendor Central is that Amazon has to issue an invitation to you to sell on that platform. So generally, they tend to invite sellers with high volume sales or already selling on the platform, or somehow they identify that these are sellers that they want on the platform. Maybe they have products that are not otherwise sold through Amazon. But again, it has to be by invitation. And even though you could ask for an invitation, there's no guarantee that you could actually sell through that platform. So for those reasons, we're going to focus on Seller Central, which is open to everyone. With Seller Central, your customer is the consumer. So Amazon is the avenue you're using to get to the end user, to the consumer. And you pay certain fees based on whether or not you're an individual or professional seller, which we'll talk about very shortly. You have control over the pricing of your product. You have control over how much marketing or advertising dollars you want to spend. And you're also mostly responsible for customer service. The one exception is when Amazon is fulfilling your orders, and again, we'll discuss that in depth a little bit later, in which case they will handle any damage to shipments that have been sent out to the consumer. One thing I do want to point out before we get started and really dive in is that there are categories and products that are restricted for sale on Amazon. And by that, I don't mean that you can never sell that product. It just means that you will have to get approval from another layer of approval from Amazon. For example, I'm in the grocery category, so my products are restricted. For me, my experience with getting approval was relatively easy. I just had to prove that my packaging was correct, that my labeling was proper, that my suppliers were FDA registered, which I'd have to do anyway in order to sell in the United States. At the end of this deck, which we'll share with you at the end, is a schedule that lists all of the products and all of the categories that are restricted. So at least you'll have an idea going in if you need to get any more information ready as you go through the application process. Having said that, there are some products that are ineligible for sale on Amazon. For example, you probably all know you can't buy alcohol, you can't buy tobacco products, firearms, loose batteries, and very weirdly, contact lenses. I don't know, there's like about 12 or 14 products, and that changes to some degree. And I don't have access through my seller account with Amazon. I know as much as you would be able to find out, Googling, but I don't think any of us are selling any of these products here. So I think we can move on. So once you are a seller on Amazon, or as you're applying, you will have to make a decision between two different forms of being a merchant and selling through their platform. The deciding factor will be what your projections are for your sales, like how many units you think you will sell in a month. Because if you're selling more than 40 units, any combination of product that you're selling, it's just a $39.99 flat fee to be a professional seller. But if you're selling less than that, or if you're not sure, you might be better off just starting out with the individual seller account, which is you pay Amazon 99 cents for every item that you sell. And then you can basically test the waters and see if you feel like you're now bumping up against the 35 or 40 items a month, then it makes sense to switch to professional. The application and the registration as a seller for either of these methods is the same. And it's also very easy to move between the two. So again, if you go in as an individual and you want to switch to professional, it's very, very simple. You just do it on your dashboard. You do get some access to inventory reports, and you're eligible for promotions as a professional seller. So there's an extra layer of things that you can do. And on, again, Schedule 3 now at the end of this deck, you can see a good comparison of the two methods of selling on Amazon. So we'll share that as well. So regardless of which option you decide to, which avenue you go down, whether you're an individual or a professional seller, I would suggest, at least at the very start, if you haven't done it already, do some research on Amazon. The way I handled with the extra virgin olive oil that I sell, I just went in as a consumer and started searching on Amazon, looking for a product as close to mine as possible. So first I typed in extra virgin olive oil, then extra virgin olive oil from Greece, looking at the results, looking at the pricing. Most importantly, what I was looking for was the pricing. I didn't want to be the most expensive kid on the block, and I knew I wasn't going to be the cheapest, but I wanted to get an idea of what products like mine were selling for, what the packaging looked like, what the descriptions in the product page were like, the bullet points, which we'll talk about again. So I think it's a good place to start as you do your research. I'm sure you've done your research on other platforms as well, but Amazon is a wealth of information. And then the next decision you will make is whether or not you want Amazon to fulfill your orders or if you want to do it yourself. So with Fulfillment by Amazon or FBA, you send your product to Amazon. You decide how much you want to send to them, and it goes to a warehouse that they choose which warehouse it should go to, and they take care of everything else. They prep, if there's any prep needed, for instance, if you have glass bottles like I do, you need bubble wrap. They package it, they label it, they send it off to the customer. And then you pay them fees for that based on how much you want them to do for you. You have the other choice of fulfilling your orders on your own. You prep everything, you package as the orders come in. The one thing about FBA, fulfillment by, oh, sorry, I think I mixed that up. Sorry about that. That's supposed to be FBM, fulfillment by merchant. And when you're fulfilling yourself, you are not eligible for Prime. So just keep that in mind as you move forward and making your choices. I'm sorry, somebody was knocking, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Sorry about that. Sorry. Right. So I wanted to talk about the fees that if you choose to do FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon, which I do recommend, but as we go through the fees here, you will understand what it is that they're charging for that service and how it will compare if you're handling it yourself. So using my extra virgin olive oil as an example, my price on Amazon right now of $22.49 is what is sold to the customer. That's what the customer is paying. I chose to let Amazon fulfill this product for me. So I sent it to them in bulk. There's an advertising fee that they would charge, but that is optional. It's up to you if you want to advertise or not. So that can be a variable that you think about as we talk about advertising later in the class. The referral fee is something that you pay to Amazon for using their platform. They determine that price, and it goes by category specific. So in the grocery category, which I'm familiar with, if your item is selling for $15 or less, it's 8% of your selling price. If it's selling $15 or more, it's 15% of your selling price. The fulfillment fee is all those things that they have to do. It's a pick and pack, we call it. So you have your box, your prep if needed, everything that goes into preparing your box to be sent out. And then some other smaller fees, the prep fee is separate. The fulfillment fee includes the pick and pack. So they're paying somebody to package your item for you. They're paying for the boxes. Inbound placement fee, that's a fee that you pay to Amazon when they choose the optimum warehouse location for your item to be. So they determine that based on sales. In the beginning, you're probably going to be sending it all to one warehouse because they don't have the records, they don't have the data to determine if your orders are coming mostly from the West Coast or from the East Coast. But as time goes on and you get more experience and they get more experience with your product, they will determine where it goes. And that's a fee that you pay to them. Naturally, you have to pay for the shipping going to Amazon, but they have such good relationships with the UPSs and the FedExes in the world. You get a pretty good break on that, and that's something to keep in mind as you're comparing between the FBM and the FBA. So, having taken all those fees into consideration, the payment I'm going to get from Amazon for this bottle of olive oil that they sold is $9.76. I'm doing it a little bit backwards. When you're doing your calculations in your model, you're going to start with your cost. So somewhere between your cost of goods sold and that number, that amount that you're going to get from Amazon in payment, that's going to be the determining factor as to whether or not this works for you. So do your analysis, look at your model, your pricing model, and make sure that you're understanding of all these fees. And compare them to what it would cost you if you were the one actually fulfilling. You might find that it is more, it's better for you to fulfill. You just have to do that analysis based on your own pricing model. So that was a lot. Does anyone have questions at this point? Because I feel like we covered a lot, and I'm sorry for the interruption.
I do, if you don't mind. So I think I may have missed the referral fee. So is what exactly is the referral fee again? So that is,
Yeah, so the referral fee is a fee that Amazon charges all of its sellers, and it charges per item sold, and it's the fee that you're paying them to allow you to use their platform.
okay.
And
And
and it's category specific. So
okay.
if you're selling teddy bears, it's going to be different than selling bottles of olive oil. So
Got
you would, but you will know that when you actually register for your seller account, you will get this information. So you'll have that. And actually registering for an account to sell on Amazon is free. You don't pay them, whether you're individual or professional, you don't pay them until you start selling.
Okay. So, but what I don't see on here, which I would need to consider, is the if you're doing FBA or FBM, either $39.99 charge, that has nothing to do with the referral fee, right? The referral fee is over and above that.
Over, yeah.
And then whatever, if you do FBA, whatever shipping charges you incur shipping your product to Amazon is not part of this either, right?
Right.
That's over and above. Okay.
That's over.
Got it.
Yeah.
I have a question. Dina, you said that fulfillment by merchant is not eligible for Amazon Prime, but doesn't that serve as a deterrent for most people to make purchases? I almost never buy anything that's not Amazon Prime.
Yeah, deliberate on Amazon's part. About 2 years ago, they flipped that model, because what happens often, like even though I'm using FBA to do most of my products, there are times when they run out of stock. That period between me sending them a new product and the sales were higher than we thought it was going to. So there's sometimes like a week or 2 weeks gap, and I flip. You can go back and forth between FBA and FBM.
Oh, okay.
If you see that they're running out of stock, you can flip that particular product to FBM, so you can continue receiving and fulfilling orders and not lose momentum. As long as you were offering free shipping to the consumer, you were considered Prime no matter what you were doing. And then 2 years ago, they just eliminated that. Anyone who is not using FBA cannot take advantage of that Prime button. And there's really no explanation given as to why they did that. It wasn't working for them, they did it, and there was, not a whole lot we can do about it, except if we want to be Prime, just make sure that we're sending the stuff to them. Now, having said that, you could eliminate at least the prep fee on the FBA part if you send them the item that you're selling already prepped. So at least you can take that off the table, but you're still paying a fulfillment fee. Is that exactly?
Dina, sorry, one more question, and you may cover this later on, so feel free to just, if you want to skip over it, but do you have an account manager at Amazon after setting up your account that can help you kind of like navigate this, or to discuss inventory with, or anything like that?
No, you don't. I mean, I think you'd have to be a really, really big company, maybe Neutrogena does,
Yeah,
that
sure.
you do get a lot of support, and we will talk about what kind of support you're going to receive later on, but every time you call, you're getting a different person. You're going into a call center most times.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so this is the website that you would go to. That's the URL for you to get started with them. This is copied right from their website. It's pretty straightforward. Make sure you have your documentation, in front of you. Obviously, they need your bank account and routing number to pay you. They settle with you electronically every 2 weeks, and your credit card is charged for any fees that are incurred during during those 2 weeks. If you're selling with your company, whether it's an LLC or a corporation, whatever it might be, they're going to want your EIN. If you're selling as an individual, then you could use your social security number. And that's pretty straightforward, so I won't spend too much time on that. Okay, now this is, excuse me. So listing your product, once you get into your dashboard on Amazon, you're able to start uploading. You can do a bulk upload of your entire, all of the products that you have, or you can do it one by one. The listing process is pretty straightforward. They're going to ask you a lot of questions about the weight and the packaging, dimensions, origin, manufacturer name, and so on. But I'm going to focus on these right now because these first two, the product title, the name of your product, what's going to appear on your product page, and the brand if it's applicable. These are the two things that you need to be really, really careful about in terms of how you enter the information. Even the slightest typo or misspelling is very difficult to unwind from with them. Once it's entered into their system, it's really hard. You can change it, but it's very painful. So I just advise you right up front, don't be distracted when you're typing it in. Make it look exactly the way you want it to look. Fields that are important for discovery, and that means, how well you will, how good a chance you have of appearing high up on the search. Product name, description, bullet points, keywords, and images. So obviously the product name, make it as informative as possible. So for instance, my olive oil is Oil ID. Make sure your brand is in the title. Extra virgin olive oil from Greece. In parentheses, I think I have the weight, so people can see it right up front. They don't have to click on everything to get the information that they're looking for. So think about when you're searching for the product you're selling, what do you want to see when you type in? What is it that you are looking for? And will that product that pops up on the Amazon search screen, get your attention quickly? The description, you have a lot of room in the dashboard. You can write paragraphs and paragraphs. So the more information you put in there, but again, not so much that you're going to tire the person out. When I don't know if you've gone onto Amazon and you see these descriptions that go on for a page and a half, that might be a bit much, but do put in as many words that would be searchable. So describe your product accurately and give as much information as possible. And the bullet points and keywords, those are two other fields within the dashboard that allow you to put in even more searchable terms and words that you want associated with your product that will make it easier for you when you start advertising or making promotions. Amazon loves images. They love pictures, and the more you give them and the more you put on your product page, the better. The first image, the hero image, has to be of your product, facing forward. They want a blank background. So that's not the place that they will allow a lifestyle photo. Lifestyle photos are absolutely allowed, as you can see, this is just an example. But the first image has to be the front, and they do want, like in my case, because it's grocery, they want the nutrition facts label. It's not mandatory. It's not like they're going to stop you from selling, but it will help you as you're looking for your customer on Amazon. I know when I look for a product, a food item, I want to see the nutrition and I want to see the ingredients. So put those images in there. And then if you have lifestyle photos and videos especially are very useful, very helpful, and that's to help the consumer make a decision. Did someone have a question? I thought I heard something. Okay. The product detail page, once you've filled in all of those images and videos and put in your description, this is an example of what it will look like, as you know. So this are the bullet points. So if it's one of the fields that you'll be filling in, it'll come up. It's the first thing people will see. So keep that in mind as you're going through the dashboard and filling in your information. For advertising and promotions, from your dashboard, you'll be able to access a number of different ways to advertise or promote your products. They charge a fee for advertising depending on the type of ad you'd like to do. That information is readily available on your dashboard. Advertising is not required by Amazon. I mentioned that, but it's totally up to you. But I will stress that without some form of advertising, it's going to be very difficult to show up high on the search results. Perhaps in a situation where you have a very, very unique product that is not sold by many other merchants, it could, you're going to get that advantage of showing up. But like in my case with olive oil, there's no shortage of bottles of olive oil out there. So we advertise. And we advertise mostly what I find has been very helpful to us is sponsored products advertising. That's if you know when you go into Amazon, you search for a product and you're looking for this thing, but then up top you get 4 products that may or may not relate to your search, but you see that's sponsored underneath. Somebody paid to show up on that page that you're looking for a product that might be similar, sometimes not even related. That actually does work very well. I mean, it pushes you up on the search results. And you can do ad campaigns through your dashboard. You do get support there. They give you a lot of support, not, actually, on the phone, but they have something called Seller University on their platform that you can learn how to do, all kinds of things on their platform. It's very, very, very deep and thorough. I also like the A+ content. That's another form of advertising in a way, although that doesn't actually cost you anything if you're a professional seller. That allows you to put more information. I think I have an example. No, I don't, but I'll describe it. So the A+ content is another layer of information you can put on your product page. It usually comes about halfway down between the first image and the reviews, which start towards the bottom. And you're allowed to put even more images there, but big, not those little thumbnails. So that's a nice way to get more images in front of the consumer and make your product pop. And then there are deals and coupons, price discounts, promotions. Again, that's all available on the dashboard, and through the Seller University, you can decide if that makes sense for you, and different fees that go with each. But I do urge you to consider some form of advertising. If you are a brand owner, or if you have an exclusive, or even, I don't think you have to have an exclusive on Amazon, but you should have some kind of agreement with the brand owner, you can then register the brand on Amazon, and that's another big boost. I urge you to do that. They have a way of embedding almost like a storefront or your own, what looks like your own website within the Amazon platform. I think I do have an example of where you'll find that. So if you see up here, right underneath the 8.1 ounce from my tapenade, it says visit the Oila-D store. So that's open to the brand that is registered, and this is just a snapshot of what that Oila-D store looks like, but you can take a look at other brands, like bigger brands and even smaller brands that are more like what you're planning to sell, for instance, to see how they've set up their store. It's a really nice feature. It's free for brand owners and companies that have agreements with brands, and you get a lot more access to additional reports when you have your brand registered. You get brand analytics. You can see where your customers are geographically. You can see the demographics. You can do search analytics throughout that dashboard, only available to you. And what I also like is a feature for brand registry called Run Experiments. So you could actually change, and you also have more access to changing the way your product is described, the name of the brand. As I mentioned earlier, it's generally very, very difficult to do that. But if you have your brand registered, you have the advantage of getting that done a lot faster. So you could actually run an experiment where you could say, for 2 weeks, I want it to look like this. I wanted to say extra virgin olive oil from Greece. And for 2 weeks, I wanted to say Oil D, extra virgin olive oil, Manaki olive varietal, 500 ml. And then run for 2 weeks and compare how many clicks, how many impressions you got on either of those, so that you can see which is the most beneficial to you in terms of naming your product. Okay, so sometimes things go sideways. They do, and you may have entered the wrong information, like I said, or perhaps you received too many complaints from customers. Sometimes Amazon just does something inexplicable. I'll give you an example. We have several flavors of white wine vinegar and red wine vinegar that we sell for one of our brands. And we were doing it for years. And then one day they just took the red wine vinegar off. And I fought with them for a while. They decided that it was wine and I couldn't sell it on the platform anymore. They didn't touch the white wine vinegars, but the red wine vinegar, for some reason, they decided it was an ineligible for sale on Amazon according to their rules and regulations and so forth. So I had to fight with them. So sometimes it is pretty random. You want to keep an eye on your dashboard daily. It is a lot of work to do it, right? And you do need to be looking at it. You can't just like list it and say, forget about it, even when it's FBA. When it comes to customer service, you do have options. You can email them if it's not an urgent matter, or you can call. You actually request the call and they're very quick. I mean, they will call you right back as soon as you hit that button requesting a call back. But be ready with all of the information in front of you, because you're into a call center, so you're never going to get the same person twice. So it's not like you can have a continuing conversation. Have your ASIN, and I wanted to mention ASIN. ASIN is the identifier that Amazon assigns to every product on there. That's how they identify what it is that you're talking about. So telling them my red wine vinegar is no longer on the platform, they probably just, we don't have enough information to help you with this. So be ready with any documentation to prove. In my case, proving that this is actually not wine, and not wanting to mention the white wine situation as an example, because then they just take everything off. So you don't want to go there. When it comes to the feedback from customers, you always also have that access on your dashboard. You could actually see if customers are writing to Amazon and telling them, I love this, or this was kind of late, or it came in damaged, and whatever it is, there is a dashboard where you could respond to those customers, try and make it right with them. You don't have very much control over reviews, I have to say, because they're pretty static. However, Amazon will work with you if it's something really egregious, if it's something that you can prove is just an outright lie. They will work with you, but for the most part, and they're more likely to work with you if the person who's posted the review is not an actual Amazon buyer. So if it's somebody that's just posting the review, they're more likely to look at that and say, yeah, we can take that down. But mostly they generally don't take reviews down. That's the schedule one. And I think that's the end of the presentation for now. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much, Dina. This was so helpful. I have so many questions. I don't want to go too far in the weeds. So if anyone wants to jump in first with any questions they have.
Oh, yes.
I have one, am I on mute? No.
No, you're good. You're good, Regina. Yeah.
Just one general question. Is there a way to research what Amazon sells most of? Like what are the trending items that are selling on Amazon? Is that something that
I
you know
think
that's available?
to get data like that, there are methods. You can even see it sometimes just by going on Amazon yourself as a buyer, and you can, I think they post, how many were sold of an item in the past week.
Uh-huh.
I've seen that, but Regina, I will definitely get back to you with more details on that.
No, yeah, I'm curious because I know on eBay there's a way you can look in and they'll show you, kind of what's been selling and at what price points to give you an idea. Just
Sure, I will definitely get back to you on that. And
no
I
worries.
should mention that I have, for the past year, I've been using an outside firm to handle all of my advertising on Amazon because it didn't be too much. And they're also a good source of information for me. So if I can't find it myself, I'll get back to you
Cool.
after I
Thank
see
you.
them.
I have a question regarding the referral fee. Is that a flat fee per category, regardless of how much your product sells for?
It's per product. It's oh, I'm sorry, category specific. You're right. It's by category, but it's not. It depends on how much it's selling for, and I don't know that the rules are the same for other categories as they are for grocery. But I can try and find out. Actually, I think I know how to find it. I'd have to do a little experimenting. I have to pretend that I'm selling this thing and see what comes up. Is there a particular product you want me to
No,
research?
we're looking at, we have a hot sauce that we're bottling and it's only $11 price point. So we got to pay almost $4 for a referral fee and then all these other fees. I don't know if it makes sense.
Is it a plastic bottle or
No, glass.
It's glass. Okay, so that'll be a little bit heavy. How many ounces?
5.
Okay, I will absolutely let you. That's easy because you're in the same category as me. So it'll be so you'll be paying that 8%. That we know for a fact. So it's 5 ounces. Just text me the dimensions, and then I can run a little test, and I can get back to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Dina, you mentioned that when you're uploading products, you can either do it, where you add individual products, or you can use the bulk editor. How have you used the bulk editor? And if you have, is it easy to use, or have you mostly used the individual product adding?
The majority of time I've been using the individual.
Yeah.
We just recently got one shipment that had a lot of SKUs. So we did the upload via bulk and it worked fine. I didn't do it myself, but I know it worked well. I'll speak to the person who did it. Is there a specific, or you just want to know if it has a lot of snags or?
Well, I just know that, so I have actually been working on building out an Amazon, so through brand registry, and also there's a couple of like nuances to this product in particular, but I know that you have to pick the product category. So then because you have to pick the product category for Amazon, you kind of have to like go and reference that product category list elsewhere. It's not like a drop down where you can select the product category, right? Like you have to kind of go find where the product category catalog is and then input that into the bulk editor. So I was just curious if you've run into some of those, like, I don't know, it's just hurdles in the system, I guess, like extra steps because you're using the bulk editor, but that's like very in the weeds, as I mentioned. So it was just out of curiosity if you've ever used it.
Okay. But I can dig a little deeper on that too. Like one thing I didn't mention earlier, and it was in my mind, and the one thing about Amazon to keep in mind is that they don't want to see your item being sold elsewhere in the retail space for less than what you're selling it on their platform. So keep that in mind because they do a lot of research, and if they see it, they don't even warn you. They take the add to cart button away, and that makes it a little bit more difficult for you to make that sale. Because sometimes without the add to cart, the customer really has to like
Buy
search
it
around
on.
and yeah, like really click through. They have to be really determined to get your price. Otherwise, you just think that it's not available. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
interesting.
there's actually, I think there's a lawsuit that's been proposed against them because of this. It's like ruined, really impacted, if
Yep.
not ruined, a lot of
Yeah.
businesses in a terrible way.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then one other question I had just about fulfillment when you're doing it through fulfillment by Amazon. If there are damaged goods, I mean, this is like a very particular scenario, so maybe you haven't had this pop up, but if there were damaged goods, how is that handled? Did they do chargebacks with you, or like, how do you have to handle, the customer complaint, or like, how does that typically work?
Right. So if it's FBA, if they fulfill, they're responsible for the damage. So you're actually getting a reimbursement for
Okay.
you still they're not going to reimburse you for the other things that they did to get the product out of their warehouse. You're still paying the referral fee and all that, but they will reimburse you for the damaged product and not charge. I think they don't charge you for the shipping either. I should check on that. Because and with returns, can't speak to it too well. I mean, they have a very generous return policy
Yeah.
from your side, but grocery items are not eligible for return.
Mm,
So sometimes I'll get, if there is a damage and it was something that I fulfilled myself, the customer has the opportunity to contact me and let me know that, and then we work it out between us. If they have a product, if something's damaged on the way that was fulfilled by Amazon, they can still contact me, but it's Amazon who takes care of it no matter
yeah.
what. But they don't accept returns on food items.
Yeah, interesting. And then if
Mm.
you, sorry, again, I'm kind of steamrolling here, but
No, it's
if you have products that aren't being fulfilled by Amazon, but you also are waiting on the shipment on your end, right? But you have it listed, people can buy it, but potentially the shipping will take like a week or two. Do you find that those products like don't sell as quickly as ones that are being fulfilled by Amazon and going through Prime? Like, is that just like a case study that you've noticed?
well, sales definitely bump up significantly when I switched to FBA. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm answering the right question. I may not have understood.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Ask me the first part again, because I think I
So
missed.
so if you have a product that's not necessarily that you don't have like in inventory at the moment, but it's like on its way over or whatever the situation is, and it's going to be shipped to the consumer in like 1 to 2 weeks, like has that first of all, is that ever a situation, and like how do you kind of handle not having inventory at the moment but still being able to sell on Amazon, or do you just kind of remove it from the platform altogether?
It doesn't come off the platform. It goes down to when it goes to zero inventory. The listing is still there. You
Yeah.
might see my product come up, but it'll say unavailable, not currently unavailable, or we don't know when this is going to be available again.
Yeah.
It's an FBA so if they are fulfilling that item and it's currently unavailable in their warehouse, but if they know there's a shipment going from me to them, you'll see we expect this item to be available in 5 days, 10 days, whatever.
Right. Okay.
Fulfilling, they don't trust me that I'm going to ever have it again. So they just keep it as currently unavailable.
Okay. Yeah, that was a
Mhm.
backwards way of asking that question. Thank you for deciphering.
Sure, I'm not sure.
Hmm. So
Okay.
interesting. So then, if you're working through Amazon, like, so the business cycle, then at the end of the year, in terms of revenue and like, what is there? Do they send you a 1099? Like, what is the last parts of that business, commercial phase, I
Yeah.
guess, for the business?
Basically, not a P&L, but there's like a document that they produce that you send to your CPA or you
Mhm.
include with your tax returns.
Mhm. Okay.
This was so helpful, Dina.
Interesting. Oh my
Well,
gosh, so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry for that interruption. That was my
Oh God, that was nothing.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know. I couldn't hear anything. You were barely gone for a split second. So
I
don't
know.
worry
told her
about it.
like I am going to be completely, and she just has trouble doing some things and she wanted my
Yeah.
help. I felt terrible, but I was like,
Yeah.
No,
Just
it
slowly
was
shut the
nothing.
door. Sorry, Mom.
I shut the door. I have to take this clip off also. Leslie, you're going to be doing some heavy editing.
Yeah, no, no, it was really good. It was really helpful. And I feel like the pacing
Like,
was really great too. Like taking a moment, in between the slides was really nice because it kind of helps you digest what you just heard and then jumps into the next section. So I thought it was great. And I'm glad that others joined.